And welcome back, everyone, to the Rampage MX channel. Hope everyone's having an awesome day, whatever day you are watching this on. Today is Tuesday, so it's a nice little video to start off the week. And welcome back, I'm glad to say, to the 10-minute breakdown series we have here on YouTube. We had the Italian opening for the first video, and today I'm going to be talking about the Dragon, so Sicilian defense. And generally, the series, it's not made for you to do this opening, right? But I'm trying to give you guys a variety of openings that I myself have played, right? So I have first-hand experience, and you guys might actually like it. It's a lot of easy ideas, easy flow, and once you guys watch this video, you can know more about the opening. So yeah, today's gonna be about the Sicilian, and your opponent's gonna start with d4. This happen if they play e4. If they play d4, well, we'll get to that in a different opening video. And you play c5. So this is the start of the Sicilian. They play knight f3, and here you have two ways to kind of get to this dragon kind of defense. One is called the accelerated dragon, but it's just called the dragon. What I recommend. And the reason why I don't recommend it's a little nuanced, but I would say knight c6 is also a fine move, right? But generally, when they get this d4 opening structure, and you play g6, which is going to be the dragon, kind of the point of the dragon, you want the bishop here, they can play c4, and the main point of playing c4 is that they bind the d5 square. I don't want you guys playing this opening just because it's very hard to get this d5 break. By the way, this is the break that black wants in these kind of positions, so if you can't get that, it's very hard to maneuver around their pieces. So what I recommend is starting with d6. They play d4, takes, knight f6. By the way, d4 is not the only move. d4 is what you guys are going to get in most of your games, especially at a bit of a higher level, because your opponents, this is kind of the, how to say, it's the best way to try to challenge your opening, right? Otherwise, it's not very much of a fight. I'm going to get into the c3 sidelines a little bit. I think someone called Jose Alcantara loves this c3 setup, but they play d4, right? And we take, that's the point, we want to take this pawn on d4, they take, and we play knight f6, and now they're not allowed to play c4, right, because then their e4 pawn is hanging. So then they play knight c3, and then they play g6. So this is kind of where we start the accelerated, not the accelerated, the dragon system, right? The main move you will see is bishop e3, I'll get into more sidelines, but bishop e3 and bishop g7, and here is kind of the first main diversion that white can play. So if white plays bishop e2, if they go for a more solid approach, you castle, they castle. Let's say they castle on the king side first. We'll take a look at what happens on the queen side. Develop this knight to c6, and do not develop this bishop first. Why do I not want you to develop this bishop first? I don't want you to develop this bishop first because you want this d5 break. And if you play bishop d7, you can't get d5, right? You can take and then play bishop c6 and then get d5, but that's a bit slow. And you can't get d5 because now it's not guarded. Whereas here, as soon as you see the queen moving up, play d5, because this is the last opportunity you're going to get before they stack the rooks. Let's say I play a random move, a6, rook d1, and now d5 is not as strong because they can take, and then they have pressure on this pawn three ways, right? So you're going to actually lose a pawn here. So as soon as they play queen d2, play d5. Now, one more small criteria before I go into this d5 setup. Another point of the dragon, right? Another point of the dragon is that as soon as they don't cover this g4 square, let's say after knight c6 they play queen d2, I want you to make this like kind of a recollection kind of thing. As soon as they don't control g4, play knight g4, because this is the golden bishop you're going to get. For example, if they play h3 and you take and they take, this is a monumental win for you because you have the bishop on g7 that cannot be counterattacked, right? They lost their bishop on e3, and now you have an awesome bishop, right? Your bishop on g7 prevails. This is an awesome bishop, the one I highlighted in blue. And then you have the bishop pair. As I talked about in my previous videos, if you guys haven't watched those recaps, a lot of these ideas mesh together, right? Chess is a very fluid game. So if you see one combination, there's a big chance you're going to see that again, right? This bishop pair is very, very important, especially in the dragon system, because then it will be able to attack weak points that your opponent cannot defend. So as soon as they play queen d2, step 1, make sure to play d5. Step 2, plant that knight on g4. If they take on g4 with the bishop, that's okay, right? Even if they kick you out, you can go back, you can go bishop d7, because now d5 is not really on your cards because you have the bishop pair. If you have the bishop pair, you're happy, right? Just for some sample moves, in case you don't really know what to do here, that makes sense. You will play rook c8, bring this rook to c8, and then you want to fight for this c4 square. As soon as the light square bishop is gone, you want that c4 square to yourself. So you want knight e5, let's say they play h3, and knight c4, and again, you're going to get another bishop, or you can get this b2 pawn. So if they don't guard, they have to be extremely careful because your rook on c3 is also attacking, sorry, your rook on c8 is attacking c3, and your knight is attacking d1, right? So that's kind of step number 1, but what you will see is that your opponent is actually going to be more aggressive, and instead of playing bishop e2, f3 is the main move here. Here, castle. Make sure to castle very, very quickly because you want to attack them on the other side of the board, and if your king's not safe, that's a big, big priority. They will play queen d2. So why did they play f3 instead of queen d2? Well, if they play queen d2 here, then you can play knight g4, right? Just what I said, active recollection. Knight g4, and now you're going to take their bishop. If they move away, that's a fork. So they got to be careful, right? But they can go bishop g5. But if they go bishop g5, you can bring out your queen. And you can attack d4, you can attack b2. So they have to be very careful with where they place this bishop. So they will play f3. And then you play castles, queen e2, develop your pieces. Normal. Knight c6. If they take, by the way, if you're wondering why they don't take, normally they don't take because after you take and they castle, you have just created an open line, or they have just created rather, an open line for your rook to just straight go through your king, right? So they're gonna play. You're gonna play queen a5, bishop e2. You're gonna go bishop e6. You're attacking this. You're gonna bring your other rook to b8. Move this knight away. For example, let's say they play king b1, and they play king a1, and then knight d7, and see how all your pieces are going into the attack, right? c3's hanging, a2's hanging. It's a very fluid position, right? So make sure to play knight c6. And here, after they castle, play d5. d5 is the main break in this position. Here, play d5. And here, I'm going to show you a bit of theory. It's mainly theory because it's been tried and tested by a lot of people, mainly Hikaru Nakamura, the world number 2, who was just playing in the candidates, right? They should take the pawn. Now, if they take the pawn, don't be scared. Take back with the knight. Take back with the knight because now you're attacking e3 and c3. What's the best move they can do? So, right now they have a rook, they have a queen, they have a knight, all potentially eyeing d5, right? So you can take the knight, you take, and you might say, hey, I'm down a pawn. Why am I being down a pawn? I don't want to play this. So you're down a pawn. However, you can move your queen out of the way. By the way, do not trade. Do not trade. And the main point is why you don't want to trade is that you're down a pawn. So trading when you're down material is not good because the less pieces you have, the less of a chance you're going to win the game, right? So, you don't want to trade queens, and now you play queen c7. Why do you play queen c7? I'm going to go through two things. If they take on a8, by the way, this is a free rook, but then you can play bishop f5. You can expose their king. So this is a threat. They can't guard this with their queen. And I'm hitting the queen on a8. So it's kind of like a dual purpose move. And now they would have to sack the queen for the rook, but you have a very happy bishop on f5, and your bishop on g7 is very, very active. So you're going to have a very nice position here. So you play queen c7, and I'm just going to give you a sample line. If they play queen c5, trying to go for a queen trade, never accept the queen trade. Never, ever, ever accept the queen trade in the accelerated dragon because you want to attack. That's the point of the opening. The Sicilian Dragon is a very, very complex game where you want to attack your opponent, right? So you want to attack b2. Okay? So d5 is the main move here. Now, I'm going to go into one more subsection before we end the video here. If they play queen e1, this will not happen in the majority of your games. Just make sure that you don't hang this pawn on e5 because their rook is actually lined up against your queen. So you can kick their knight out, and if they take, you take, and now you have reinforcement in the center. So just make sure your pawns are well equipped in the center. Take the center if you can, and make sure to get this d5 break whenever you can. Remember, the opening starts with c5 and d6, and then knight f6, and then g6. So this is what you're going to get. Play this order with g6, and if they play bishop e2, just castle like normal. If they play queen d2, and they don't guard against g4, play knight g4. This is the main point of the opening, right? You want their bishop pair. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. If they do play bishop e2, just castle, play knight c6, and the main point is play this d5 move. If they play long castles, play d5. If they play short castles, well, play d5, right? Just make sure that you can open up this bishop, because that is your golden piece. So this is kind of a nice, recap into what you should do in the Sicilian Dragon. And if you want to go more, if you guys want to go more in depth, let me know in the comments, right? This is kind of a new developing series, so I'm happy to get you guys' input on it. And that's gonna end the video for today. If you guys enjoyed your Sicilian Dragon mini masterclass, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video soon. So until next time, take care. Try out the Sicilian Dragon for yourself. Rampage out.